Rocket is the key fintech hub in Lithuania, where top creators and founders build the future of financial technologies and the next generation of sustainable innovations. Acting as a dynamic ecosystem, we provide space for networking, expertise sharing, and cooperation, enabling and contributing to the success stories of the finance, technology, and innovation sectors. During the past years, our hub has established a leading position as the home of fintech and core place for fintech community. Hello, everyone. My name is Sharuna. I'm the head of Rocket, and today is my real pleasure to invite you to one of the final Rockets events this year. Having organized over 130 events, invited nearly 200 speakers across the globe to share their experiences with you during the past months, we had a great chance to feel the pulse of community, which was very intensive on various levels. We hope that the content we provided was helpful for you, guided you through the tough times, and provided the right support that you needed at that time. Today, we're meeting with wonderful guests to discuss and reflect on how 2020 was for the whole fintech ecosystem in Lithuania. If we look back in the beginning of the year, everything seemed stable. The growth of this sector was growing. Strategic directions were more or less clear. Companies were creating long-term plans. But later, few months later, basically, the whole economy turned into a crazy roller coaster ride, and everything needed to be switched to Plan B. There was no plan to rethink carefully the Plan B because the actions must have taken immediately. But here, Lithuania really stood out, and especially the fintech sector appeared to be very resilient. Even though the COVID-19 took most of our attention this year, it is also important to highlight other aspects that make an impact on the ecosystem development. Which companies were successfully growing? What was the appetite for the venture capitalists? How did the market mature during this year? Also, what were the main security obstacles that companies had to overcome? We need to look in a broader scale as well. What is the political surrounding, as recently the new government elections passed in Lithuania? But before we move on with our today's guests, we would like to hear from you, our audience, and you will have a chance to share what are your insights on what were the main highlights of the Lithuanian fintech ecosystem this year. So please join us on menti.com. Open on your phone or laptop, just type in menti.com and enter the code that you see on the screen, and share your thoughts with us. So is it some event? Is it some innovation? Is it a new trend that appeared during this year? And later on in the Q&A session, I'll make sure that our representatives of today will reflect on that. Means your ideas will be very valuable for today's discussion. So while you're joining us and writing your ideas, I would like to invite our speakers, and they have prepared insightful presentations and updates on how this year's journey shaped the further development of the sector and what will be our new priority areas in Lithuania. So the first to join is Greta Ranonytė from the Ministry of Finance of Lithuania. Hello, Greta.
Hi, Sharuna. Thank you for having me.
Could you please shortly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, of course. So my name is Greta Ranonytė. I am working as a chief specialist at the Ministry of Finance, and my main work is with the Fintech Action Plan. I'm responsible for creating it and coordinating its implementation, which you could say, well, the Fintech Action Plan translates into an annual Fintech strategy. So here's what I'm doing, and this is what I'm going to share today.
Great, exciting to have you here. The next to join is Vaiva Mulė, the new head of Fintech Hub LT Association. Hello, Vaiva.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. As Sharuni already mentioned, I am the new head of Fintech Hub LT Association. I previously worked at the government as head of Fintech Hub, so the title haven't changed much.
Great. Also, I would like to invite Mindaugas Mikalajūnas, CEO at SME Finance, to join us. Hello, Mindaugas.
Hello, guys. This is Mindaugas, SME Finance, CEO of SME Finance, biggest non-banking player in the all Baltics. Hi.
Hi, Mindaugas. Vilius Benetis, CEO at Energy Cybersecurity, will be our next representative. Hello, Vilius.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vilius. I represent Energy Cybersecurity, a company who tries to assist for everyone to be cyber resilient. And we work a lot with financial sector. So we're assisting big nations as Nigeria, Egypt, and other places, including Lithuanian companies and central banks, to organize and be more cyber secure against all the threats. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to hear your insights today. And last but not least is Jona Vaitulevičiūtė, a partner at Startup Wise Guys, our neighbor, basically living next door, right in the same rocket space. So hello, Jona.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I wish I was in the neighborhood, but not today. Yes, so as Sharuna said, I'm a partner at Startup Wise Guys, and I think probably the most relevant part here is that with our fund at Startup Wise Guys, we invested over half of the fund in fintechs, actually. And what we're doing in the neighborhood with Sharuni is actually running the fintech accelerator currently, which is in the full speed right now. Happy to be here.
Full remote speed, I would add this as well.
Yeah.
Great. So nice to meet you all, and looking forward to hearing your discussions and later joining the same panel. And for now, I would like to ask to show up the menti.com slide once again, just to see how active you are and if you've got the question right. And you will see the link during the event, and you can write your ideas till the end of the event. So later on, we can get back to that. So let me remind the question. What were the most important highlights for Lithuanian fintech scene in 2020? The code is 5249480, and looking forward to having more ideas here. So let's kick it off with our first presentation delivered by Greta Ranonytė from the Ministry of Finance of Lithuania. And Greta will share her insights, why she believes this year for fintechs it was more like an opportunity than a challenge, and also what were the main highlights achieved in the government sector. So Greta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sharuna, and of course, thank you for having me. So for today's event, I actually tried to look back at 2020 and find the most prominent actions of Ministry of Finance and in its role to foster fintech development. And as my time today is of course limited, I chose one for each quarter that stood up the most, well, at least for me. We started the year as usual by deciding on the measures for the annual FinTech Action Plan. And as the year is coming to an end, most of the measures from the plan have been implemented. And I'd like to point out 6 of them, which I find the most important. So starting with approving changes to the law on the prevention of money laundering and terrorist financing that will allow using driver's license for customers' identification. Secondly, changes to the law on consumer credit, which are on the way. Actually, they might be, we hope that they will be approved by the parliament tomorrow. And these changes will allow legal entities to lend via P2P platforms. Then we have Payment Council's recommendations for open banking and using non-cash payments in schools. And the best way to summarize these recommendations, it's slowly but surely moving forward to the more digitalized services. And then looking at the risk management perspective, we have implemented 2 main measures. So first, it's expanding the list of criteria for possible money laundering and the identification of suspicious monetary transactions. And I would say the most important, it's finalizing the establishment of AML Competence Center. Looking at the second quarter, I believe that The best way to describe the second quarter is by its reaction to the sudden COVID-19 pandemic and government's plan for economic stimulus. The plan offered financial aid to ensure necessary resources for the efficient operation of health and public security systems, protecting jobs and personal income, maintaining business liquidity, and boosting the economy. And what struck me the most from the fintech sector perspective was that fintech companies, instead of being the recipients of such aid, actually became facilitators for the aid and the digital transformation on a broader perspective. And just to give a few examples. Firstly, in the face of increased demand for online purchases, especially having in mind that both the consumer base for digital payments and the demand for a reliable operation of digital infrastructure has also significantly increased, fintech sector has stepped up to become a facilitator for the required services. Online identity verification succeeded not only in its direct purpose to help consumers access financial services at a distance, but also was widely used for citizens' registration for a medical visit or communication with medical staff. And of course, fintech solutions have been a major help to broaden and speed up access to loans to SMEs, including loans supported by the government in response to the pandemic. These examples show that the pandemic has only accelerated the inevitable shift to a more digitalized world, with the financial technologies taking the lead. Now, moving on, the third quarter for me associates with the DNA plan for the future economy. This plan is aimed at transforming the economy with 5 main areas of investments. So it's human capital, digital economy and business, innovation and research, economic infrastructure, and climate change and energy. From fintech's perspective, there are many different measures, starting from students' financial literacy, as well as practical entrepreneurial skills, and ending with the use of artificial intelligence or open data. I am personally involved in a project for creating an open ecosystem for non-cash payments in schools. This is building required infrastructure and providing children with means of non-cash payments. And the last quarter. This quarter brings a very important transnational dimension for fintech sector growth. In the end of September, European Commission issued a digital finance package, and the package includes, first of all, a digital finance strategy, European Union retail payment strategy, and some legislative proposals. So it's on markets in crypto assets, so-called MiCA, a pilot regime for market infrastructures based on distributed ledger technology, and digital operational resilience for the financial sector, so-called DORA. And of course, as my time is running out, I would like to finish my presentation with 4 priorities of digital finance strategy, which very well translates into the priorities on the national level. So first, it's removing fragmentation in the digital single market, and it will be done by enabling EU-wide use of digital identities and facilitating the scaling up of the digital financial services across the single market. The second priority is ensuring facilitation of the digital innovation, and it will be done by enabling EU markets in crypto assets and tokenized financial instruments, promoting cooperation and the use of cloud computing infrastructure, promoting investments in software by adapting prudential rules on intangible assets, promoting the uptake of artificial intelligence tools, and ensuring a future legislative framework on an ongoing basis. The third priority is promoting data-driven innovation, and it will be done by facilitating real-time digital access to all regulated financial information, promoting innovative IT tools to facilitate reporting and supervision, and promoting business-to-business data sharing in the EU financial sector and beyond. And the last priority is ensuring risk management by safeguarding financial stability, protecting investors and consumers, protecting public interest, and strengthening digital operational resilience. And for the very end, just a quick note from my side. No matter the recent changes in the government, fintech will remain a priority, and we will be working just as hard to ensure favorable conditions for its further growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Greta, for concluding on such a positive note, and that gives a lot of motivation to move forward and see how the strategic priorities will align. So thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm sure we'll get back to the questions later. Also, I would like to encourage our audience, if you have any questions related to what Greta has mentioned or other participants will have to present, please write them in the comment section. As well, we have our menti.com platform where you are free to share your insights and how do you think what were the most important highlights for Lithuanian fintech scene in 2020. So the next to present is Vaiva Mule, and she will present us why payment sector was such a hot topic this year. What were the advantages and the most recent challenges that companies faced. So Vaiva, please share your presentation.
Hello, can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you, Charuna, for the introduction. It's a really pleasure to talk today. And as you already know, I am Vaiva, the head of Fintech Hub Association. And I'm also a twin, and I also have twins. So collaboration is all in my heart. As Bill Clinton once said, we all do better when we work together, and our differences do matter, but our common humanity matters more. So today I will tell you why collaboration is the most important part for fintechs. So Fintech Hub LT Association is all about collaboration. And I'm very happy to share that this year we grew by 20%. We attracted 8 new members and 2 sponsors. And personally, I'm very happy to see names like Railsbank, Paydo, and others like Vinted, who are seeking to get the ME license. So the board of association did a fantastic job. So warm round of applause to them. The people who work in finance usually are people who like numbers. So today I will overview the main numbers, and so the numbers will talk, not me. And as Fintech Hub LT unites mainly MEs and payment institutions, the numbers I will show represent only licensed fintechs, which is more than half of the whole fintech ecosystem in Lithuania. For those who know me, they know that I wear usually glasses, and today I'm without my glasses, and this is the influence of COVID. And I'm sure that those who wear glasses will feel me, as during the calls no one can see our eyes, while outside with a mask on, we can't see anything because of the fog on the glasses. So my main question today is, did fintechs also had some foggy days? So let's see. As you can see, the numbers don't show any fog, just a grow. And the numbers are very impressive. The total amount of payment transaction increased by 50%, and I'm also very happy to see that that income of fintech also had a significant increase. People were constantly saying to me that fintechs are unprofitable. So the growth of income can mean that some of them might be profitable this year. We also see that Bank of Lithuania did a good job and issued 11 ME licenses. As a matter of fact, the number shown in my slide represents only 121 as 5 licenses they issued in the recent months. So now let's go deeper and see which companies are rocking. As you can see from the slide, Paysera is still the leader in terms of total amount of payment transactions, but we also see companies like ConnectPay, Walter, Transactive Systems, Maneuver, which represents Genome brand, they are all in top 10. These companies received the license only 2 years ago. So for me, their achievement is really very inspiring. It was also a surprise for me that these 10 companies do more than 90% of all transactions. Well, another interesting fact for me, or surprise for me, was that their payment is leading in relation to the income, but they are not in the first graph. And the most beautiful part, the beauty for my eyes, is that majority of these companies are the members of our association. So congratulations to all the companies, as to be in top 10 is a huge achievement. This information is engaging, but far more interesting is to see the growth of companies. And here we see some different names. You could say, come on, Viva, but the growth from 10K to 100K is one thing, and from 1 million to another is another. From 1 million to 2 million is another, but it's also essential to know when these companies started to operate in Lithuania. And as a matter of fact, most of these companies got the license in 2018, or some of them even earlier. As you can see, the numbers are impressive, and a special congratulations to Walter, Genome, GlobalNet, Via Payment, ConnectPay, PayDo, as the numbers of transaction and income of these companies are really breathtaking. So the numbers are really nice, but is it all so positive? I like to see the full picture. So now let's talk a bit about the foggy part. It was the main change and the main challenge for fintechs this year. So what I'm talking here, I'm talking about fines. As you can see, that fines are the new trend in Lithuania. And of course, I'm not the one who could say if it's a bad or good thing. And as a person who studied camps and who has worked for the government, I understand the risk of money laundering. I understand the risk of for country reputation and so on. It is also nothing personal, as I used only the public available data, and I don't have enough information to say if these fines were given for the good or bad reason. But the numbers are numbers, and you can see that the increase is very huge. 10 companies receive fines, while 9 were officially announced as violators, and some companies received relatively small fines, but in total, the amount of fines tripled. So now let's see in detail what influence it had on the company's performance. So as you see, the fines are not the biggest problem for fintechs. It's small amount comparing with lost clients, income, you can name it. As you can see, for example, Security Nordic Payment, known as Mr. Tango, for the last quarter, for the second quarter in a row, experienced a significant decrease in income, as well as it in total amount of transactions. For me, it will be interesting to see what impact fines will have on companies which receive fine in the last quarter. And I want to highlight that these companies are leading, and they're in the top list I mentioned previously. For me, it's also important to mention that these companies pay a lot of taxes. They employ people, they pay twice bigger salaries than the average in Lithuania. So the size of the fine is not what matters, nor is the lost clients or fine itself. So my question is, so what matters the most? Let's imagine you are a taxi driver and you choose the most convenient road. and you go wherever your client needs to go. And if you are new on the road, most likely you are not that confident. Probably your insurance is a bit bigger, and if you get a penalty, your clients don't know about that. But let's imagine fintech ecosystem here. Roads are not free, and you need to pay for that. If you get a fine, you get a red flag, which is visible to everyone. And after that, you're not even allowed to drive on most roads, which means you can't take your client from A to B, which means you can't operate. So the fine is very expensive, no matter how big or small it was. If you can't provide your services, you can't. You are forced to close your business or to search for a new country with not that strict rules. So this is how affected ecosystem can look like if we continue this trend of fines. Is there a solution? Well, we also always have a solution and opportunities. And I will present one of my solutions, or the way I see it. So my suggestion is collaboration. I encourage all the fintechs to be proactive, and I want to highlight this word, proactive. Don't be ignorant, as our ignorance can be seen in a negative way. Don't be ignorant as if you have something to hide, and just join our collaboration. We all understand the importance of AML. Half of our teams are working on compliance. We want to ensure our clients that our clients and we are secure and safe. And the most important part here is that our regulator had the same goal, and they just do the job. So let's seek for the possibilities to switch from a strict compliance assessment to effective and reasonably designed one. Financial crime enforcement network, known as FinCEN, also proposed this approach a few months ago. And what do I mean by effective and reasonably designed assessment? When you are not fined, but you are warned for a mistake you did, if you are, of course, working hand to hand with our regulator, then in collaboration, our AML resources are not merely reduced as a result of such regulatory amendments, but rather as appropriate relocated to higher priority areas. So collaboration is the best solution here, and Fintech Hub Association is the best place for that. To sum up, so it takes two to tango, and we should all learn to dance. As far as I know, our regulators signed for the classes, and they know our pain, and they are willing to help. As you saw our numbers, well, I like this dance. So, as you saw the numbers, they are really very promising. But let's not pretend to be the best dancers in the world. We don't want to be scammers, do we? Let's first practice, learn, and only when find out whether we are sexy, classical, innovative. I do believe we have some potential, and we will win if we dance with passion. And we do have a passion, and tango is all about that. But it takes two to tango. So let's ride the green and clean revolution. Thank you.
So thank you, Viva, very much for uncovering the truth. How did it went? And sometimes not all the things went well, as we see from your slides. So really great insights, and looking forward to analyzing more what it takes for great collaboration, and discussing further challenges that companies will overcome. So. Thank you very much for sharing. And the next, I would like to invite Mindaugas Mikalajūnas from SME Finance to share their story, as it was pretty exciting this year. And Mindaugas was sharing before the event that they are going on the full speed. So he will tell us more about what role did alternative financing and lending played in 2020. So Mindaugas, the floor is yours.
Hello, guys. Do you see my screen? Everything's
Yes.
okay?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, nice to hear Vaivas information about payment industry. I represents a little bit different industry. It's a lending area. I am an old ex-banker. Basically, I worked 12 years in with the lending business. I know pretty much everything in the Baltics, how it works here, this lending area. 8 years I spent in one of the biggest banks, 8 years spent in the Swedbank, and almost 5 years in SME finance. So I know pretty much everything, how the banks works and how the fintechs are great in this area. And SME finance is, I think, it's good example to show everything and how our portfolio growing, how our client base growing, and all potential unicorns are growing this area. Just understand, how big is the market in this small region. Baltic region, it's small pocket, in the European Union. If we are talking about only factoring portfolio, it's only 1 billion euros. So in all Europe, it's 240 billion euros. But when we are talking about bigger pie, I mean in lending area, B2B lending in in Lithuania combines. I checked 8 billion euros. Just understand this amounts. And the second topic is here. This in this area we have SME segment, very quite big segment. And this segment is totally underserved in this area, and I will say why. Problem number one is the top 3 banks controls 85% of the market share. I will show later the landscape in this area. And second topic is related with the first topic. Then they controls the biggest part of the pie. They are so conservative. So young business, fast growing business who doesn't have hard collateral, they can get the funding. Funding is essential or crucial thing for them because it's like blood in our in our corpse. One topic important, just understand this importance of fintechs. The state fintechs distributed 70% of the all state support only in Lithuania. Not biggest banks do it, but we smaller fintechs. This topic about competitive landscape, it's a digital part and specialized lender or traditional lending or top local players. You will see the Swedbank, SEB, and Luminor, or Citadele, or Šiaulių Bankas. They control 95% of the market share. And opposite side, you have another way. Other players, peer-to-peer lending platforms. Our competitors, SME Finance, the same Revolut for business, and smaller players like unions or smaller banks. Basically, what you see, the market. It's totally divided into two pieces. Traditional and non-traditional. So we are not competing, guys. We are creating new ecosystems, basically. And our ecosystem located here, we are growing 10 times faster than our competitors. Just understand SME Finance, Payre, or peer-to-peer lending platform, market share growth from around 20 million euros to 200 million euros during the couple of years. It's a huge amounts. When we're talking about the biggest banks, they keep the same market share. They don't grow. Basically, 1 max 3% per year. they control this part. What else? How we are growing? Basically, what we are doing, all our business models based on scalability and the platforms. We are doing our digital-based solutions for SMEs, for smaller micro companies, and we are building parallel new ecosystems. When I talked previously, we are not competing with the biggest banks. We are creating our new pockets, our market shares for the new segments, for the new customers, for fast-growing companies, for the companies who don't have hard collateral, etc. We have tailor-made solutions for them. And what in SME finance case, basically what we have four basic products, and these four products covered 95% of all clients' needs. Here you see our SME finance growth. As I mentioned previously, we are a good example of cooperation of the state and the fintech. Then the COVID arise. It was first wave of the COVID. Our portfolio decreased very significantly. But what SME Finance did, they attract additional funding and they cooperate very closely with Invega. Invega has a lot of stimulus and a lot of state support programs for our SMEs. So we participated in all tenders and we won these tenders, and now our portfolio growing very rapidly. So we transform our businesses. From this slide, you see another important topic. We are always focused on growth. It's not how to keep our client base, but how to increase the client base. And we transform our businesses from the factoring. You will see the blue line. We introduce new services. I mean, leasing and the short-term and long-term loans. We introduced a lot of money from not local money, but from abroad. And now we can say honestly for our market players, fintechs are doing a good job here locally. It's our main shifter, but it's not very important SME finance, but the accumulated total amount of our business volumes. We reach more than 500 million euros total turnover. It's quite significant amount, and it's only SME finance. And you see our growth. We are biggest non-banking player in the Baltics, but still, when we took SME finance case, when we took peer-to-peer lending platforms, when you took additional additional capital, or we took our competitors' business volumes, this part will be much bigger. Regarding this slide, what can I say? It's a huge effort to attract capital. It's one topic, and second topic, it was SME Finance and Citadele. We have cooperation agreement. It's the first in the Baltics cooperation agreement between traditional bank and the fintech. And you see, we don't compete. We are doing parallel ecosystems. Second topic is Invega. As I mentioned previously, we distributed a lot of capital, and the Invega granted for us almost 20 million euros credit line. So it's a huge opportunity for SME finance, but it's a huge opportunity for SMEs as well to get additional capital. And bad thing that in this area you see a lot of money attract from not for local markets. Basically, it's European Investment Bank or South Korea fund or UK couple of funds. It's opportunity not for local investors, but for investors abroad. So lesson learned is here that we are attracting additional capital into this ecosystem, like investment ecosystem in Lithuania as well. And short summary from my side, summarizing this short presentation. Real market need, how to be successful in this lending area or SME finance lending area. Real market need, in the first slides you saw that Baltics market totally underserved. Top 3 banks controls almost 90% of the market share, so there is an efficiency here. We should eliminate this inefficiency. Due to technology, SME finance or other competitors has the ability to scale up and grow faster. And what we did, we launched our platform. We introduced additional investors into our ecosystem. We introduced additional clients as well. And we are scaling up our business through the Baltics and, of course, in the other regions as well. Funding, we are always raising. It's common practice for all venture capitalists or lending area businessmen. We are always raising. So the topic for me as a CEO is to find the best solution for our customers. When I can do it, when the capital will be cheaper as the banks is. And the first topic is flexibility in everything, in products, in structure, in business model, and development, etc. As you see, we started work in this area only like factoring company. It's a niche. It's only 600 million euros niche locally in Lithuania. But now we change our strategy, introduce additional services, additional capital, and now we can grow faster and faster due to technology, of course. And from my side, that's it.
Thank you, Mindaugas. So, a part of tremendous growth this year, you also recently announced launching your own neobank. So, could you please comment why such a step at the moment?
Yeah, it's logical practice to have, like, as I mentioned previously, we are working like a fintech in a regulated market. But the bank, when we start the bank, you will be totally regulated, and Viva and the other players will say it as well. So, but our customers, they want to have cheaper lending services. How we can get it? To attract deposits into our ecosystem. So we will have like two parallel working ecosystem: the bank and the fintech. In the bank, you will have like cheaper funding, and we will convert in the cheaper loans. And the fintech, you will have a little bit, our investors, they want higher returns. So your pricing is included in your business model. So it's hard to deliver good pricing when you have expensive money in your balance sheet, if I can say that. So it's logical way to attract new customers, new technology, the same approach. It's neobank approach. It will be the same platform, but the essential is to have cheaper deposits, cheaper funding.
So it's great to see that you see opportunities for your company to mature and grow in such a way that you are becoming a serious threat to other neobanks and banks operating in the country. So
it's not a threat. It's, as I mentioned previously, we are building parallel ecosystem. It's like when we will be like a real market player, and the banks or non-bank players, they have 20% of the market share. Now we have 5% or less. So then it will be like potential threat. But as you see from our cooperation with Citadele, maybe it's not a threat. Maybe it's opportunity for the banks to cooperate.
Great. Let's leave this question about cooperation for our panel, and we will see what other speakers will have to add on. So Mindaugas, I would like to thank you once again for sharing your presentation with us. And the next presenter is Vilius Benetis from NRD Cybersecurity. Vilius will share with us what has happened in the cyberspace during this year, also what long-term impact that will have focusing specifically on this area. So Vilius, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. So it was great presentation so far. I would like to connect to what was said, but as well to add on. So I have 6 points to present. First of all, let's see how to force the right thing to click. So all of us understanding the digital world is expanding. Because of more technologies we bring and connect, and it's gonna grow even more than Internet of Things or devices gonna communicate with devices without even human need. That as well brings for me the feeling of 2020. Probably I used as little credit cards as possible in my life. I pay with my device often, so I don't need to take something in Maxima. I use Maxima app. In other places, I just use Apple Pay and other capabilities. So purchasing, payments, investments, digital assets, and all other systems are part of cyberspace. Understanding that, as well, what we saw this year, that Lietuvos Bankas issued additional regulation. In summary, everyone in the game, in fintech game, requires a CISO or a senior officer managing cyberspace and information-related risk and resilience. So it's very clearly visible in job advertisements. It's very interesting to analyze the salary composition, which shows that this time it's not only label is given, but as well with responsibility comes the salary as well. That means that we're going to have probably more professional staff in the market understanding financial sector and the risk and cyber resilience, which is good. And we see that because of this regulation, there's increased demand for cybersecurity in many forms. So in staff, as I already mentioned, in services, so we see more and more advisory services requested towards us or other cybersecurity companies. There's more and more managed security services for monitoring or other functions, vulnerability assessments coming from fintech sector, which is very pleasant. Seldomly there are requests for technology, and I think this is good approach because working in different sectors in different countries, it's looks quite sad when fintechs or financial sector members first of all go for the technology names because maybe central bank regulated or because other reasons to be buying technology without having proper processes or staff to operate that technology. Technology has to be only as implementation tool for the policy what you design for yourself, not creating value for itself. And what I see the long-term impact, what is happening in Lithuania in this perspective, I think it's good. As well, what we see that if you would think how many banks or financial sector organizations were ransomware, very few. At least I don't hear often about it globally. I hear every week somebody hit in Lithuania from different sectors where millions are lost as a consequence, not for paying the ransom, but rather the cost of data, of operations, of other capabilities. So here on the side, I have placed data, which is the last data set is from October, analyzed from open source collected incident data set. So here we see that out of all reported cybercrime or cybersecurity incidents in the world publicly revealed on public media and reported and aggregated in one place, We see that fintech specifically is a small number. It's 2.7%. Financial sector another 4%, so it's less than 10%. Others 15% are public administration and individuals and other areas. Maybe in multiple industries, 20% is hiding some fintechs as well, but probably not more than another fraction. Why is that? I believe the answer lays in what we have been doing with already previously mentioned European Investment Bank this year. We did a research study for the investments, and how does that relate to cybersecurity? And we have seen that when we're looking what is the percentage of ICT investments come into cybersecurity, finance sector up to 14% of ICT investments spend in cybersecurity. National governments 10%, regional governments usually it's lower. ICT sector it's around 8%, while on average it's around 5 to 7%, on average 6.4 investment as part of ICT total investment. So regulation, one of the explanations of this is that regulation drives up the spending in the sector and being more resilient, as well as a better understanding risk profile. And usually this underinvestment is a result of senior management inappropriately assessing the risk, which is based on statistics from last year, while cybersecurity does not follow the same principles. In EU, these numbers are as follows. However, we see that they are lower than what US, China, and some other countries are spending. While in manufacturing, it's even much less. So machinery is, automation of machinery costs much more in percentage-wise. And we just hope and expect that all that machinery has cybersecurity embedded properly. That brings to my last point, a wish for 2021. I would like to see in Lithuania building informal community, or maybe formal sectorial cybersecurity sharing and analysis capability. Maybe in Lietuvos Bankas, maybe in Banking Association, maybe in Fintech Hub, maybe under Rocket, or maybe somewhere else. But I believe that Lithuanian Fintech community need to create their own knowledge in cybersecurity by sharing and discussing. And I would like to encourage everybody who is listening from fintechs to draw attention that what Mindaugas was mentioning, that sometimes even fintechs are not competing with the banks. In cybersecurity, seldomly somebody is competing. There are so many facts and success stories from all around the world when banks actually cooperating on cybersecurity, just because they know that each of them are going to be targeted and hacked in similar way. So better to join the forces, think and share the ideas how to be more resilient, and in such a way build the competence and resilience in the sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vilius, and I hope it wasn't like too challenging for you to put all your achievements and insights on one slide. So great job with that, and thank you for sharing. Hopefully we will have more time to go for the questions in the discussion. And I would like to encourage our viewers to join menti.com and share your highlights. What do you find the most exciting about 2020 and Lithuanian fintech scene in that? Yeah, we see we already have a couple of ideas to come back later on. And let's move to the final presentation and hear from Jona Vaitulevičiūtė, who will share what happened in the investment scene this year. So which startups were the superstars?
Yes, thank you, Šarūnė. So yes, it's my pleasure to participate here and kind of summarize the 2020 from venture capital perspective, though I would say that it's not yet over, unfortunately, and we still have probably some deals cooking also, I know that from our side. So But without further ado, I also want to say that you probably will be kind of the exclusive viewers of the report, the data that WiseGuys is releasing every year. So it was rolled out just today at 4 p.m. our local time. So I'm just happy really to share it with you of what has happened this year. And as you probably can see on the screen, I might start with a controversial question. Maybe
just 1 sec. I believe we are not seeing your screen yet. So if you can check your screen sharing.
Yes, very quickly.
Well, already slides. Very excited.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, all good now.
You see, probably the question, can you see my slides, is still very relevant even at the end of this year. So yes, but I didn't went too far. So exactly, 2020 might have been the most stable year actually ever in the venture capital scene, which is very surprising probably, because when we think of 2020, we immediately think of some chaos. But Sharuna mentioned that at the beginning, that probably fintech sector foremost was actually the one that was kind of pretty resistant to the pandemic, and also the whole investment scene was really resistant to what was happening in the world. Of course, we don't know what we don't know. So how this year would have looked like if not for the COVID-19, but actually on the investment side, the really clear trend is that the investments were still growing besides the mega deals. So unfortunately or fortunately, the mega vintage deal of last year, it was counted for 2019. But if we take the vintage deal aside, actually Lithuanian investments into Lithuanian startups have increased a little bit by more or less 8%. And as I said, this is not yet over. So I know that some deals are coming from our side, more than 9 in fintech area, and also there should be a few more on other investor side, the bigger ones as well. But what we should really, I think, pay attention to is that actually 14 million out of the 34 total that have been invested into our startups went for 11 fintechs. So that's actually shows a great trend, knowing that we have really great SaaS and artificial intelligence and as well deep tech startups. Almost like much more than 1/3 of the investments actually went to fintech. So that's probably a kind of expected, but still very nice to know. And the deal number is actually also at a very similar pace. So if we look here, we're talking about changes from the first half of 2019 to the first half of 2020. And actually the number of deals has increased compared to the first part of 2019, though it has a little bit decreased compared to the second half of 2020. But we know that happens actually in the venture capital world, that a lot of deals are being closed down by the end of the year. So definitely this number of overall 2020 will grow up considerably. And again, out of 30 deals made in the first half of 2020, 11 were fintechs. So that's really, out of all the palette that we can choose, we can see that, this is what's really been trending. And our friends, Change Ventures, have actually been, have also released their report. And an interesting thing that we have observed is actually at the beginning of the year, everyone's like, okay, well, finally, at least the valuations of startups will go down. So finally, it will normalize. But unfortunately for investors, this was not the case. If you are a seed level startup raising somewhere, around 1 to 3 million euros, probably your valuations actually have had increased quite considerably. So kind of the old good truth prevails that if you're a good startup and you have traction, the valuations actually just keep on rising. If we look on the pre-seed stage, yes, they have decreased a little bit, but this is actually a very minor change that's not like considerably reflecting what we have actually expected to happen. But also on our side, what we've noticed, the sizes of the rounds, the money invested in startups has actually slightly decreased. And the reason is that many startups have delayed their investment cycles. And they actually just went for a short bridge round, for accelerator round, instead of going for larger seed and Series A investments. So that actually, I think, quite benefited angels and accelerators alike. And also current investors had a kind of the chance to. The interesting fact is that actually a median fintech ticket was around 170,000 euros. So that's not particularly very high. We need to consider that we had TransferGo that actually kind of chunks up most of the that investment scene. The average was 1.2 million. And I would say that the expectations for fintechs with traction is actually somewhere around probably 500 to 1 million euro here in Lithuania from local or mixed investors. And the good part for us, for investors, was that at least the traction is higher for the startups that we invest into. So if at the very early stage, it still remains quite unknown, so it can be just a pitch deck that we will invest into, or that can be some traction. Seed round fintechs actually had much higher monthly recurring revenues, or just monthly revenues, compared to the last year. And that's a significant increase. And we know ourselves from the deals that we have observed that having over 50,000 euro monthly recurring revenue does not necessarily kind of assure you a very smooth way to the seed or Series A round. So that's important to keep attention to. And yes, who raised the most, right? So it's we always compare ourselves to our nemesis or our neighbors, Estonians and Latvians. So of course, Estonians had, again, big deals, another unicorn being brewed in the country. But overall in the Baltics, up until mid-2020, there were only over 10 deals over 5 million. So that's not too many. And the largest one was, as I mentioned, it was TransferGo. So, but I think you can see that actually quite a few from those larger rounds were fintechs. If we consider also some cybersecurity included here, so Veriff, TransferGo, Mintos actually having like a new way of funding, of crowdfunding. So Tax Scout, etc. So actually almost half of those deals were in the fintech space. So that kind of, we are again proving that there is a reason to be a fintech country or even a fintech region. And just some comparison of, where investors are and where startups are, right? So of course, whereas SaaS and fintech are still remaining the dominant force of the startups in the Baltics and in Lithuania as well, actually, on the other hand, investors are still remaining more of a generalists. So, almost all of them would be investing in SaaS. Almost like 85% are investing in fintech, which you probably already know that we call it extended fintech, which means that PropTech, cybersecurity is also under this name. But more interestingly, for example, that more than half investors would claim that they invest in artificial intelligence, whereas the number of startups in artificial intelligence field is actually quite low, less than 8%. So, there is no mismatch between, I would say, the fintech dry powder and the SaaS, but the other areas are actually a little bit underrepresented on one or the other sides. So yeah, kind of for the last part, just what we're expecting, what will happen, and maybe again we will have a very solid year of 2021. But there is a lot of dry powder, meaning money left for startups, both on the side of local investors, but also coming from outside. What I did not mention in my previous slide, but it was written there, that almost 70% of investments are still coming from abroad, which really denies the fact when everyone thought that COVID will stop international investments. So this did not happen. It actually stayed exactly the same ratio. And however, there will be high competition for investors' attention, especially when we are talking about traction. So traction will remain an important factor. And there can be some unique cases with a much more like new technologies gaining momentum, where traction might not be that important. However, in the majority of cases, you will have to show some revenues to really go for this very strong Series A or seed round. So more information you can find on the Baltic Startup Scene report. And I'm very happy to be here. And again, if there will be any more questions or you want to talk, let me know. We're investing in fintech, so it's a pleasure. Thanks.
So Jana, thank you very much for sharing. And I have a couple of leading questions to you. So just to how many companies did Startup Wise Guys invest this year, especially related in fintech area, and if to narrow down specifically in Lithuania?
Yes, actually, so now this last quarter we are investing in 9 fintechs, and at the beginning of last year we invested in, if I'm not mistaken, 6. But to be very honest, it was like a continuation from 2019. So 15 fintechs this year, and from our own experience, actually on our side, the ticket has been growing a little bit at this very early stage. So we are happy to support fintechs there.
So can you comment on having accelerator programs like yours as part of the ecosystem? What advantages does it bring? Seeing the numbers, how many investments you make, it seems like a superpower that, the superpower that you mentioned before. So.
Yeah, I think it really does help to have a vertical, because it's not that easy to attract the startups for early stage investment. Everyone wants the seed or Series A. So you really have to sell it and show, what is the value in accelerator. And if it's generalistic, then there might be a bit more questions. But once it's really focus on fintechs, we have a huge panel of fintech mentors. It really brings a lot of power. But having alumni in fintech space, that's the most powerful. That you cannot even change with anything else.
Thank you. So I would like to ask all the participants to be put back on the screen, and we will move to our Q&A session. It was great to see the chat, speakers chat, all alive and already exchanging ideas and future cooperation points. Maybe let's start with a question towards partnerships and cooperation, as it seems one of the hot topics this year. So we've seen banks needed a lot of partnerships to fuel themselves and move faster to the digital world. For fintech, it was an opportunity to offer a wider range of services and more secure services. So maybe you can also share some of the examples, successful examples from the industry that you know from the corporation side. Maybe you had some of them, and what does it say about the market maturity? So, Vaiva, maybe let's start with you.
I think it's not about maturity. I think it's probably more about the opportunity to collaborate and to kind of adapt yourself to the change. While talking about collaboration, I think both associations did that quite well. Fintech Lithuania had the ML group. Fintech Hub LT also had that, and we started working on the system which would help fintechs to share the kind of negative cases or blacklist. So I think this is very important for both for Lithuania and it could help fintechs in terms of compliance. So this probably would be the best for me.
In my area, I can say some examples. As I mentioned previously, we had in lending area Citadel Bank operation. So we're distributing wholesale money. So we distributed for smaller SMEs which don't care, like Citadel or other bank. They don't care, small size companies. So it's one example. A second example where we will collaborate more is PSD2. Open banking directive. So in our roadmap, if I can say, is artificial intelligence and scoring system, which will be based on extract of business account. So when we will get more data from the biggest banks, we will have ability to evaluate more PD, or like probability of default of this segment. So it will be like, I think, a huge achievement in the Baltics, because the same 3 banks, 4 banks controls 80% of the market share. So when we will start work with one of them, so we will reach more market share eventually.
Well, for me, I think I'm looking from a bit different perspective on partnerships. I guess for us, the main question is how to reach market participants. And we have a few formats that are working quite well. One is Payments Council, where Bank of Lithuania and Ministry of Finance with market participants are looking at the issues in payments, and we're trying to create recommendations for private and public sectors to move a bit forward. And then also, as I already mentioned, AML Competence Center, which will be established realistically established in 2021. So, which is also about private and public partnership. And in the COVID pandemic, as Mindaugas already mentioned, channeling Invega's loans to small businesses. So it's also from our side, it's a partnership.
Great, thank you very much. So maybe let's look what audience have shared with us, and their ideas were shared on menti.com platform. And what I would like to ask for you to comment if you see something that you would like to highlight that was not covered during the presentations. And these are the ideas from the audience. So what were the main highlights in 2020? So focus for cyber resilience from Lithuanian bank, success in instant payments, first steps of maturing open banking, creating anti-money laundering center, even few times, tango of National Bank of Lithuania, how to be nice to everyone. That's that was partly covered on Vaiva's presentation. The tango takes two, and what does it really need to make a successful cooperation? Then significant fines and other enforcements for miscompliance issued by Bank of Lithuania, and as was mentioned by Vaiva as well, that fines are becoming kind of a new and official trend, either positive or negative. We'll figure this out. So. Dear guests, what do you think of these trends, of these highlights that people have highlighted, and maybe you would like something to add on?
Yes, maybe I can comment. A lot of, I think, very relevant highlights. Some of them are like still being scrolled, but I would probably relate the most on the stable growth of fintechs in Lithuania. And Vaiva has addressed it very well with like really good numbers. I'm looking maybe on a little bit more early stage perspective, but I can really claim that this is the case. Whereas we were talking before about like some super apps and PSD2 as something in the startup as very far-fetched. Now we see how they're really leveraging it and really making it grow. The revenues are growing. They're serving more and more clients. So definitely the fintechs have, from, I would say, overall an idea stage of a fintech ecosystem with all of the companies over there, we're moving to really a bit more maturing a servicing ecosystem. So it's beautiful to see from investors' perspective.
I would like to add some ideas about partnership what relates to cybercrime. So I would like to draw attention that as number of fintechs is growing and more people start working in these organizations, probably not everyone is aware that cybercrime unit of police used to work and still working quite closely with the financial sector in Lithuania. And it was, to my understanding, it was co-financed by the banks initially. And at least from my understanding and my knowledge of cyber police unit from the management, we are eager to work with all organizations, and we are in very good contact and work relations with Europol. So I believe it's good idea for cyber resilience to have some connections with cyber police or talk to them and understand what is the proper interactions or possible interactions in order to prepare for some events which might cause some issues for fintechs, for cybercrime, to understand what does it mean to work with law enforcement as well. There are good publications in ENISA, European Cybersecurity Agency, on law enforcement and organizations or incident response teams. So these are good aspects to look. There are very successful stories from financial sector in UK, where staff in the banks or financial sector were double contracted. One side is a bank, another side is police, in order to have a very fast response for cybercrime.
Thank you. Anyone else to add on this? Seems we covered everything. Another thing I would like to highlight from what was mentioned a couple of times, maturing and understanding what open banking opportunities that could be. And Mindaugas, you mentioned that you see it as one of the potential go-to things for your company.
Yeah, it's really true, because we have even European Union support to prepare innovative scoring system. And when you have open data, you can evaluate this PD or risk assessment part more strictly or more precise. And then after that, when you pass all learning by doing curve, the final result for the customers will be cheaper loans, basically. So because your business model will be very, very precise. So open banking, it will be a crucial thing for us in terms of scoring or risk assessment part.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you, audience, for sharing your thoughts. Let's go to other questions. And in practically all of your presentations, we've heard a lot of positive notes that we've seen a steady growth of the ecosystem. Companies were operating in bigger volumes. But not all the fintech companies had gold ages during this pandemics. And could you highlight and think of the areas where fintech companies had way more challenging time?
I can see a few topics here. SME finance, like all non-banking lenders, we are using investors' money. We are attracting investors' money, and we are attracting not from local investors, basically, or abroad. It was tough for us to attract 30 million euros during the pandemic. We did it, but we did it remotely. It was tough job for us, but finally, after concentration, we reached this goal. But during the pandemic, it's hard to prove SME finance or other non-banking lender area player your business model, not only scalability, but the risk part as well. Because these SMEs, they are very sensitive, like businesses in this area. So when you have a lot of SMEs in your balance sheet, it's hard to prove it that you are not banana country. It's one topic, and you can evaluate the risk very, very good and very strict. So during the pandemic, it was one of the biggest challenges to find additional funding.
If I could just add up, it's not about the pandemic, but some issues that we see are regarding infrastructure and actually access to data, data openness, and digitalized public services. For example, e-signature, e-resident questions. Services digitalization was, I wouldn't say was a top priority for 2020, but at the moment we're seeing how the need for it is increased, and this is going to be a priority for 2021. So it's about access to data.
And on a contrary note, we've heard the most successful sectors, so coming from lending, payments, and digital banking. So could you identify other maybe supporting enabling companies that played a vital role during this time? Thinking of all the compliance companies, cybersecurity companies, and others.
I would probably not would say in names, because maybe some of those companies don't even exist yet, but some of the kind of ideas that are brewing and growing are of course very strong on the insurance sector, on actually wealth management sector. So besides the hardcore fintech infrastructure, so that we have seen rising to some potential, but I think at the beginning of the year it was really spot on what exactly the brick and mortar businesses needed. So at least we from our side have really witnessed huge growth in that area.
From my side, I can say a few topics. Where is the main bank business? Bank business is wealth management, investment, lending, payments as well. There is an efficiency there. So we will see a lot of startups or challengers in this area, as Jone said. It's common practice in all Europe, Nordics, and US as well. So near future, we will see more investments into this area. In Lithuania or in Latvia, the same Mintos or peer-to-peer lending platform, they growing very huge. They grow very rapidly. Or Estate Guru, the same. In Lithuania, we saw only small 200K investment in heavy finance, if I could remember, into this area. But it will be more, I think, because it's in the investor side, the money go flooding into this area as well.
So from one of our member companies, Fimbi Versli, we've heard such a note that it seems that they were preparing for good times and for the bad times all the time, for creating infrastructure and providing these alternative payments for the ecosystem. And especially during the pandemics, it was the time to prove their point. So my next question would be to Greta mostly, and I believe others could add on. Do you think that alternative finance should receive more support in the near future for making such a significant contribution and seeing what impact it can really make?
Well, I'm actually not sure whether I am the one to answer the question, but yes, I suppose it's important to get financing. We see that some companies are facing issues, some issues with opening accounts, not only investment, but just issues with infrastructure because they are small. They might be too risky. So capital markets. Investment and capital markets are very important, one of our priorities, and I think it's one of a priority of the new government.
Mindaugas, you are the representative of alternative finance today. The new crowdfunding regulation and regulations coming towards your way. Do you feel receiving enough of support and stimulus for your business to go forward?
For SME finance, we don't have stimulus, but our customers, they have a lot of programs in terms of Invega. They support or Žemės ūkio paskolų garantijų fondas. I don't know how to say in English. They have a lot of programs, but when we're talking about our business case, like lending area, sometimes we will reach this liquidity problems, as I mentioned. And during the COVID, it was really tough for us attract capital, and we are selling money. If we don't have capital inside, it's impossible to lend to our customers. So if the state will have some such type of programs like direct lending for SMEs lenders, or where's the pain, I think they will reach state halls, I think. So we will wait the support, and we are like live witness of of initial investments, but it's only one program, started 6 months ago. So it's only one program. So maybe it will be like a good beginning, and we will see more opportunities here.
I would like to comment on Mindaugas before mentioned thought of efficiencies. So some efficiencies come with increased risk, that we rely on some processes, digitized processes. So what I recall this year, very interesting discussion of one of the incumbent bank discussing that digital authentication systems were failing, and because we're consolidating on smart ID and mobile signatures from one provider, that is Estonian one, and it cannot withstand the loads or performances and database crashes, what I saw in the annual report. So the discussion is how to ensure that there's a resilience in different components, including know your customer process, where Greta was telling the innovation on, or finally accepting driving license, and then other methods. I really liked that I now can authenticate without smart ID with biometrics on the app of the bank. Another capabilities where ecosystem players learn from each other on usability and performance and working and failing to work. For example, DocuBit probably is increasing in digital signing and onboarding on different platforms, including fintech platforms. On the other hand, if I use as a manager smart ID signing for 10 documents in a row, application crashes. So in that case, for me, the savior is a USB stick. Then I can sign more. And all these technical glitches and different aspects are still going to eat a lot of our time. So sharing and learning and getting tougher and more resilient is going to be important for next year, as it was from this year, where we can get inspiration. And I'm very happy that in Lithuania there's quite a lot of innovation done in this area.
Great, thank you.
And just sorry to add to Vilius about this cyber resilience that we can call it. A lot of attention is going to be given from supervisor side as well in 2021 with the European Commission's proposal for digital operational resilience. A lot more responsibility will be given to management body of financial entities. The reporting requirements and etc. So a lot more attention will be given to it, and we should just take Vilius' comment about sharing information and why it's important, and to try to find the solution to it.
Thank you. So I believe we already started touching upon the main highlights and trends that appeared during 2020. So it would be great to hear from each of your corner what from trend-setting area you would recognize talking about the past year. So from Jona, we've already heard that 1/3 of the companies are fintechs that get invested in. From Vaiva, cooperation seems to be the key, but maybe you would like to highlight and exclude some, highlight something more important.
So yes, I do believe that the cooperation is the main key, but I think it's important to understand that everything is new, both for the regulators, especially fintech, because it's a new thing, and both for fintechs. And as Vilius mentioned, I mean, we're gonna have some, crashes with the technology, and the same is with regulation. I mean, the most important thing is to communicate, because the government, the people who work in the government, they don't do business themselves. They don't really feel the business, and the more we talk with each other, the more we share the data, the better results we're gonna achieve, because we do have the same goals, and the government is willing to cooperate. And I think it's just for businesses sometimes to remember that it's important to spare some time and talk with the government and explain what the issues are, because sometimes we are very, very busy to do our own stuff, and we forget that part. And so collaboration is still, for me, the main key. I think that everyone is willing to do and to go far kind of higher and show that Lithuania is really the best country in the world.
Vaiva's point is actually hitting close to home for me, as I sometimes feel for creating, a fintech action plan. I am here at the strategy level, and then there is market, and they need to reach the market. So I need to find channels to know what issues are market participants experiencing, and we are trying to find those channels. So a bit of encouragement from Vaiva's side to participate, to reply to the surveys and etc. Because even though it seems like it's just a survey, but in the end it comes to a strategy. So yeah, cooperation is key.
From my side, I can say only short comment. Greta, we will see how Neobank, when we will launch it next year in July, how it works, your strategies. We will see it in real life, because now we are fintech, we are unregulated, so we're feeling quite well in this area. But when we will start our daughter SME bank, we will see it, how it works, and then maybe it will be the problems that Vaiva said, because we will have the same email payments. The lending area is pretty much known for us, but payment area it will be quite new, and I think it will be challenging part, this email part.
Mindaugas, additional comment to you. I hope when you become a neobank and you turn into a regulated organization, you will be an active contributor to the ecosystem. We'll get back to Greta, Ministry of Finance, National Bank of Lithuania, and we'll share your insights how to develop it further. Instead of being a Grinch during Christmas and just saying everything doesn't work well. So, which from my side, and Greta, take this recording as a note for further collaboration with Mindaugas. So coming back to the trend setting, what do you find that will really be a signature things for 2020, and just sharing your closing remarks with us? Jonna, maybe let's go with you.
For 2020 or 2021?
For 2020.
For 2020, yeah. I think what I probably mentioned a little bit, that there was the shift in the new opportunities, that I would say, like, go and get it, because still not too many startups went into, like, let's say, the wealth management or insurance. Also sustainable finance, which already is rocking the world elsewhere, is coming to our region. And yes, the unfortunate probably trend is that we are looking into more requirements from investor side for more, let's say, not profitable but traction generating startups. On the other hand, they are actually doing that. So that's what I really love to see. Love to see the growth of the fintechs. A lot of people employed in the fintech space. I think this is where the biggest increase has happened in this year. So yes, I would say these are the trends, and we're fintech land for a reason. So.
Vilius, what would be your closing remarks?
Besides that, seeing you every evening when I get on my bike parked beside your office window, because I'm just sitting above you. And thinking about that, for me, Lithuanian fintechs are an important part, because I'm only one-legged there, but I work a lot in different other ends of the world, and there having a knowing fintech market here locally allows me to better export our consultancy services and build out in bigger economies, which counts with hundreds of millions of populations. So this is how I feel that Lithuania is one, and Greta and all of you and us, we are body of the same. At the end of the day, we are successful if we can export the knowledge outside our small country. And so this is where I get the inspiration. And this is a lab as a Lithuania, and then looking abroad to see where we can expand. So I think for me, 2020 in that respect was the year proven that this fintech land can sustain and work. It was not only the program or project of Lithuanian Bank for 1 year or 2 years, but it's ongoing and moving forward, and I'm extremely happy about it.
For my side, shortly, fintechs are booming. It's not short run game. We are participating in marathon. So one day we will see more international players, and we will scale our businesses abroad. Now we have like small niche players, digital-based niche players, but in near future we will see even some potentials, unicorns maybe. So let's keep this growth. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
It's funny because the fireworks outside my window are happening now, so I think it is what happened this year in fintech ecosystem. It's a grow and the adaptation it was perfect. We used the opportunity. On another hand, we also had a lot of fines, which is not even bad or good. I wouldn't say that it's very, very bad or it's very, very good. It's not for me to say that, but it's the area to work on.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I do not see a fireworks from my window, so that was a great closing remark for you. And Greta, what about you?
Yeah, when thinking about 2020, a lot has happened, plans, stimulus packages, strategies, and etc. And when looking at 2021, I just hope that our efforts that we put into these plans, into the actions that we're trying to take, actually reach us fintechs and they make their day-to-day business easier.
Thank you. So from my side, I would like to thank for all the viewers and for all the guests of today's event for preparing your presentations and sharing your insights. That will definitely be a stepping stone for us to get back in the beginning of the new year and see what was left behind and what we can create on the top of that. So happy upcoming holidays, and looking forward to see you as active Rocket community members following our events, activities, and contributing to the common good of the ecosystem development in the new year as well. So thank you, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rocket is the key fintech hub in Lithuania, where top creators and founders build the future of financial technologies and the next generation of sustainable innovations. Acting as a dynamic ecosystem, we provide space for networking, expertise sharing, and cooperation, enabling and contributing to the success stories of the finance, technology, and innovation sectors. During the past years, our hub has established a leading position as the home of fintech and core place for fintech community.